Ladies and gentlemen, I think it is once again time for us to sit down together and have a long, verbose, and in-depth discussion about one of my collections. Now, normally, we cover collections of video games, right? Like, we've done the PS3 collection video, the Xbox One collection video, but today we're going to be switching it up, and we're going to be talking about a specific part of my collection, that being my gaming handhelds. Now, this is much more interesting than your typical, oh, here's a 2DS, here's a PS Vita, here's a DS, etc., because I actually have some consoles where it's like, okay, it's like multiple iterations of the same generation, technically, as well as some emulation devices, which is definitely a bit more outside of the norm of what you probably see in a video like this. So, let's go ahead, and we're not going to do this in any particular order, we're just going to kind of grab one from the pile as we go. First up, I think we're going to go with one of my first gaming handhelds and one of my favorite of all time, especially when it comes to like the case that it's inside of. It has the Zelda Phantom Hourglass case, and I've always loved this one. It is a little nicked up here at the top, but it's okay because it's an absolute classic. Love this case. It's so cozy feeling. It's also very soft. But anyway, enough gushing about the case. Inside we have, yes, the blue DS Lite. Now, if you've been watching for the channel for a little while, you may remember I talked about the fact that I had one of these back in the day. It was like my handheld growing up, you know what I mean? Like the blue DS Lite, the cobalt blue, like that was it. But then back in 2019, when Modern Warfare 2019 was coming out, I traded in my DS and all the games that I had for it for, you know, pre-order money to pre-order that game. Now, granted, it's not like it was completely without reason. The battery inside of it was basically all but dead at that point. The buttons were all like sunken in. Like there wasn't much I could do with it at that point. Sure, I could have done some repairs, and now that I'm more skilled when it comes to working with computers and gaming consoles and going inside, you know, working with the nitty-gritties, and now that, because this was actually one of those DSs where I actually had to open this thing up and repair it a little bit because there was some things I just had to iron out a bit. Unfortunately, though, this screen has some insane ghosting on it. Now, granted, some DS Lites back in the day were just prone to ghosting, and I heard some were worse than others, but this one particularly seems to have some pretty bad ghosting, so there's another device that I have, though, that we'll get to in a little bit, which is pretty cool, but still, I'm really happy just to have this one back in my collection. I was considering going out and looking for another one, but then I was like, look, in the modern landscape, even if I would look for another blue DS Lite exactly like this, what are the chances that I'll find one in perfect condition without messed up screens that aren't ghosting like crap, and you know, the screen isn't like yellowed out or whatever? Because that's the one thing, even though the screen ghosts like crazy, the colors are near perfect, the screen is like white and vibrant as you'd expect. You know what? I haven't turned this thing on in like 8 months. Let's see if it has. Bro, it has been sitting in my drawer for 8 months, and it turns on with a green lid battery. And I mean, you can see it's still going. Has my R4 inside of it, and yeah, again, the top screen is also a little bit dimmer, so I think the screen has just died a little bit over time, I guess you could say. Like, it's dimmed out, starting to ghost a bit, but it hasn't gotten that yellowing. Definitely a bit of a pick your poison moment right there, but then we'll go ahead and go over to this one, because this is actually the case that I used to have my blue DS Lite inside of back in the day. But then when I got this other device right here, this Japanese exclusive glossy red DSi. Now, I have gushed and gushed about this thing ever since I got it, because I got this thing for an absolute steal. You ready for this? Drum roll, please. $30. Yes, I got this beautiful glossy red device for $30. Now, normally, I prefer matte colors on my devices because obviously they aren't fingerprint magnets, and the same with the glossy devices are, because if you look at any fat model Xbox One, for example, from 2013, man, you look at the left side of the console, it's either been sandpapered down thanks to GameStop's awful refurbishing process, or it's just covered in fingerprints and probably scratched up all the same. But this is one of those exceptions where it's like, hey, even though, yes, this thing is kind of scratched up, and yes, there's fingerprints all over it, I don't care, man, especially when you get to the inside. Oh my god, baby girl, you got me feeling some kind of way. You know what I mean, bro? I love this thing. If ever there was a perfect woman that I could marry in this world, it's the glossy red DSi. I love you, baby. Now, let's see. Is the DSi as resilient as the DS with the bit? Bro, I haven't started this thing on in like 8 months either. Now, granted, the screen on this one is definitely a bit more yellow than I'd like. It's not like so bad to where it's like, oh man, this is like yellow garbage. I can't even look at it. Like, it's not that bad. It's just, it's not as clear as I like. Even the yellow screen is a little bit yellowed, but that's the thing. Japan is a bit more of a humid country, so anytime that you get a device from there, especially a bit of an older one, it's more than likely going to have a bit of yellowing to the screen, or anything that could come with like heat-related damages, your device is probably going to have to some extent. Now, let's go ahead and talk about a bit of an outlier here in my collection, that being this AT Games handheld. This has a bunch of Sega Genesis games on it. I got this thing for like $30, $40, $50 somewhere in that ballpark back in like, oh, I don't know, 2016, 17, somewhere in that vicinity, 2017, something like that. And yeah, this thing has a bunch of Sega Genesis games inside of it. You can even see like the little Sega Genesis label there. Now, unfortunately, I don't think the battery is not as resilient on this one, so I'd have to plug it in and charge it. I do remember the speakers are rather blown out on this thing. Like the last time I tried to use it, it just didn't sound that great, but it has a lot of great games on here. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure Streets of Rage is on here. There's like Sonic the Hedgehog. There's just a Golden Axe. Like there's a bunch of great games on here. This is a really cool device. It's really comfortable too. Like it's got a cool form factor. And again, the fact that the speakers are blown out is kind of unfortunate, but there is like an audio out thing on here, so you know, if you want to just plug in some headphones, you can do that. There's also, oh wait, I just realized there's also like an AV out port on here, so if you wanted to like plug it into a TV or something, you could do that. I actually am just now realizing that. Fun fact, did you guys know that the DSi and like I'm pretty sure the XL as well as the original DS Lite and maybe even the original DS all had different styluses? It's a very slight difference, but I didn't realize that until I got my DSi, tried to put one of my spare DS Lite styluses inside of it, and it just didn't fit the same. Nintendo, why you gotta do that? Next up, let's switch it up and go over to some Sony handhelds. So, unfortunately, there's not that many Sony handhelds that exist, but we'll go ahead and talk about my, oh man, which is my favorite Sony handheld? Is it the PSP or is it the PS Vita? Honestly, I don't know, because the PSP, right, this felt more like a console on the go. You had a lot of those console-like experiences that were just shifted to the portable thing, yet at the same time, you had even more of that on the PS Vita, but it just feels like the time that the Vita released, it's like, I don't know how to explain it, you know what I mean? Like, the Vita is still a very impressive console, and it had a lot of really impressive exclusive games to it, but I feel like the PSP just feels so much more impressive or revolutionary just due to the fact of when it came out and what came out alongside of it. So you have to remember, this thing came out alongside like the DS, which that thing's selling point was like, oh yeah, look at this, you got like Mario 64 on the go, you know, you got a remake of a 3DS, or I'm sorry, an N64 game, so you know, like, that was cool, that was impressive at the time and whatnot, but then you get to the PSP and it's like, okay, dog, we're running like GTA Liberty City Stories on here, like a full-fledged thing like that. It had like a Spider-Man game straight up at launch. Now, granted, it wasn't like the full Spider-Man 2 experience. It was basically, and I've always thought this was interesting, Spider-Man 2 on like Xbox and PlayStation 2 was essentially just like, you know, what you'd expect. You know, open world, swinging around, saving civilians, playing through the story mode based on the movie. But then the PSP version was literally the PS2 version of Spider-Man 1, but with like Spider-Man 2 assets tossed into it, and like obviously changing some things to make it line up better with the story, just running in that engine basically. So I always thought that was interesting, and it also got a lot of really cool exclusive games, like for example the Jak and Daxter spin-offs and the Ratchet and Clank spin-offs. Some other notable examples are the fact that it could literally run the entire full like Lego console games on here. Now granted, you might look at a Lego game and be like, okay, is it really that impressive though? But it really is when you realize the fact that yes, you know, this handheld released back in the early 2000s, and it was running games like say Lego Batman that even released in like 2008, and again, it may be like, okay, but is it really that impressive? Well, when you look at the game and you see it running on this thing when you're used to seeing it blown up on like an HD Xbox 360, PS3, or even like PS2 or Wii of the day, yeah. The PSP is just such a fantastic system, man. And do not get me started on the RPGs on the system, man. We had games like John d'Arc, or however the hell you say it. I've never known how to actually say the name properly. Then you had a bunch of remakes like Final Fantasy Tactics and whatnot. We had like Crisis Core, Persona 3 Portable, hello. The PSP is a system that I've always loved and cherished, and it's a system that I always go back to, man. This is one of those consoles or one of those handhelds, whatever the hell you want to call it, where I just sit there and I hold it and I'm like, yeah, everything's gonna be okay. You know what I mean? That's sort of just how video games are for me in general, though. Like, no matter how down I'm feeling, video games are always my grounding factor. Like, you know what? Sure, life sucks right now, but it doesn't matter because I have my video games. So, damn it, hell or high water, I'll get through this. I just gotta play a few more rounds of Call of Duty or go back and replay Resident Evil 4 for the 5 millionth time, and I'll be okay when it's all said and done. But, yeah, love my PSP. Sorry for the gush session. I know I'm technically just here to show off the consoles, but, you know, I can't help it, man. I gotta gush a little bit. That's just what I do. Alright, next up, let's go ahead and bounce back to Nintendo, because why not? So, I love this case right here. It's like Mario Kart case, and oh man, we're about to open up one of my favorite handhelds of all time. It's hard for me to pick an absolute favorite handheld, but this is definitely one of them, man. Oh man. Now, this isn't like the normal 3DS, obviously. This is the 2DS, which like came out a little bit later. Now, I kind of want to turn this thing on and just see. Oh my god, dude, look at the Nintendo consoles just showing off today. This thing hasn't been turned on since like December, I want to say, and there it is, charging up and ready to go. But where do I even begin with the 2DS, man? Oh my gosh, just holding this device just brings me so much joy, because here's the thing, I actually prefer the 2DS or the 2DS XL over the normal 3DSs because I have so much OCD, so I'm always checking on the side when I'm using a 3DS, like, okay, do I actually have the 3D off? Because the 3D gives me like a massive headache or whatever, and the 2DS and the 2DS XL obviously can, you know, they let you run whatever you need to run, but oh my goodness, man, I should not be, dude, how does it have a full battery right now? Literally, look at the top right, I don't know how you guys can see that. Full battery, bro, it's been on for like 5 months. But anyway, yeah, the 2DS and the 3DS, just, I don't know, there's something about this device where it's like, it's the DS, but it's more, man. Because obviously it's completely backwards compatible, you know, if you want to put a DS cartridge in there, you can, and, you know, the games still look great on here, and it makes up for the fact that, like, okay, my 1DS has an extremely dim and ghosted screen, whereas the other one's completely yellowed out. I'm just playing one here, even if it is a bit blurrier, because it is I believe it's not an exact pixel-to-pixel ratio from the original DS. But just looking through this device, man, we got so many amazing games on here. Like, we got a dedicated Smash Bros, we got Mario Kart 7, Super Mario Maker, New Super Mario Bros 2, and then we got a bunch of cool superhero games on here, like the Amazing Spider-Man, Batman Arkham Origins, Blackgate, oh my gosh, there it is, Sonic Lost World, Sonic Racing, Resident Evil Revelations, Pokemon Sun and Moon, X and Y, Omega Ruby, and Alpha Sapphire, all the Lego games on here, bro. I gotta turn this thing off, otherwise I'm about to get into one hell of a play session, let me tell you what. The 3DS/2DS will always be one of my favorite handhelds of all time. It got... the device has gotten me through so many dark times in my life, and it's one of those things for video games where it's like, video games get me through the darkest times of my life, but they also get me through the best times of my life. If I'm feeling sad or bad or angry or literally anything, video games just make me feel good and better again, and if I'm already feeling good, then video games just make me feel even better, you know what I mean? And the 3DS/2DS is definitely one of those things. It's one of those consoles where it's like, okay, if I'm panicking and I just don't know what to do with myself, I can turn it on, go on Animal Crossing, go on Super Smash Bros, and I'm just like, alright, life's okay, I'll be fine. In fact, not to get too personal here, but I'm just gonna kind of open the floodgates for a minute and be, you know, open and transparent with you guys, as I always am. I've been struggling a lot with, like, my mental health lately, like anxiety and depression and whatnot. There's just been a lot going through my head, and last night I was in a really dark spot, like the darkest place that I've been in a while. I don't want to go too deep into it just because I don't want to potentially trigger anybody, but I was having some, like, seriously dangerous thoughts. And right when I was at that point of, like, you know, when you're like so down that you literally don't even want to be awake anymore because you're just like, you're so down in the depths of it, you're so depressed, like even keeping your eyes open just to, you know, stay awake just feels like a chore. I went the entire day without smiling genuinely once. And then I went on my phone because I was listening to music, and obviously it was all like sad music, so I'm kind of toxic, and when I'm feeling sad, I just listen to more sad music. But I went to my video game OSTs playlist, because I have a playlist. It has hundreds, if not like thousands of songs on it at this point, and it's all just like video game OSTs that I really enjoy and that have really resonated with me. And I went and turned on the Raining the Fire theme from Black Ops 6, you know, the one from the multiplayer theme that always plays, because Call of Duty has always been one of my safe games, you know what I mean, ever since I played it for the first time almost 20 years ago at this point. I buy every game year after year, and every time I get on the game, I just feel safe and happy and just know I'm in my happy place. And as soon as the theme came on, man, I just like, I sat there and immediately I had that genuine smile just like pop back in. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be alright. And then after that, I went on to listen to a bunch of other video game OSTs like Dark Souls, and then immediately after Raining the Fire, I turned on Adrenaline from Black Ops 2, since that's my favorite Call of Duty game, and it's just a lot of nostalgia for that one too. And yeah, I'm feeling a lot better if you couldn't tell today. I'm in a much better place today. Now here's the question, does the PS Vita have it? The PS Vita is turning on after all. I didn't get to test if the PSP would turn on, but I'm gonna assume that it won't because it's been so long, but the PS Vita still has battery in it. And yes, that is the next handheld that we're gonna talk about. The PS Vita, which is arguably my favorite handheld that I own. It's a little hard to say because I love all my handhelds for different reasons. I love the PS Vita just because it's the PS Vita and it's freaking amazing. Oh my gosh, yeah, it has 24% in it. Hold on, let me turn up the volume so we can all just enjoy this for a minute. All right, listen up, folks, here we go. It's about to kick off. You ready? There it is. I love the PS Vita so much, man. This thing has so much charm, and just scrolling through the games on here is similar to what we did with the 2DS. This console has always blown my freaking mind. We have some games which are a bit simpler, like Badland, which was like a mobile game. There was a lot of mobile games on the PS Vita, think like Fruit Ninja, Jetpack Joyride, etc. But we also had other experiences like Borderlands 2. Then we had an Assassin's Creed spin-off here with Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. You got games like Angry Birds. You know, like I said, a lot of mobile games on this thing. Age of Zombies, which is just a really cool twin-stick shooter that I've always enjoyed. Disney Epic Mickey 2, Dead or Alive. Got the Danganronpa games on here. Got some Digimon games on here. Final Fantasy X and X-2. Gravity Rush, Uncharted, all the Lego games, Limbo, Hotline Miami, Jet Set Radio, the Jak and Daxter collection. Had ports of Minecraft, Injustice, Mortal Kombat, Ninja Gaiden, Need for Speed Most Wanted, Killzone. Like, dude, there's just so many amazing games on the PS Vita. There's just so much to love about it. Between the charm, and I changed the color on it to blue, by the way, because, like, normally when you boot up the PS Vita, the background's just, like, gray or something, so I changed it to blue just because blue's kind of like the PlayStation color. But anyway, yeah, there's just so much charm to the system between the form factor of it. Personally, I have the 2000. That's just the model that I prefer. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, but wait, man, the 1000 has the OLED screen. It's like, yeah, I know, but I'm basic, man. I prefer LCDs and LEDs. I'm not really sure why. There's some sort of weird bias baked in there, but anyway. Yeah, man, I just love it, and the fact that the charger is a bit more universal is really nice too, so it's not like that proprietary one. But anyways, getting back on track, man. Yeah, the PS Vita is just such an amazing system. It's one of those consoles, like, I remember I was down so bad back in January. Like, I was sick as a dog, man. Couldn't leave my bed. If you were watching the channel back then, you remember I was, like, so sick. Couldn't leave my bed, really. And the PS Vita was at my comfort system, man. I was running through, like, Lego Batman 3 on there again. That was exactly what I needed at that time. If you've ever been considering picking up a PS Vita and you're like, oh, should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Yeah, you should definitely do it. Between the exclusive games, the console ports of older games, all the amazing indie games that ended up on there, like, the PS Vita is truly an indie machine. Get yourself a PS Vita. You'd only be missing out if you don't. And finally, we're ending on a bit of a, what do you want to call it? An outlier, a miscellaneous system, one that is outside of the norm of what you'd expect, and it's one that I've also made multiple videos on before, that being the RG35XX Plus. When I got this device, I made sure to get the XX Plus, specifically because, while yes, the normal RG35XX is nice, I wanted the Plus for that Dreamcast capability, and yeah, one really cool thing about this device is that you are able to hook it up to your TV per se, so consoleize it, hook it up to your TV, hook up a Bluetooth controller to it, and then all of a sudden, you're running all the classic consoles on here. I gotta be careful with what I name because I don't want anybody, like, knocking on my door tomorrow, but let's just say you can run basically anything up to Dreamcast on this thing. You can also run some PSP games on here, like I got Persona 3 Portable to run on here, for example. It is a 4x3 screen, so you should probably be careful with what PSP games you try to play on here. You know, I mean, there's some, like, arcade collections that'll probably run really well on here, especially considering, again, since it's a 4x3 screen, it would work better just with the format. It's like, okay, you know, it just kind of fits in the screen naturally, you know, even if you have to stretch it out or whatnot. But if you're trying to play things like God of War here, I'd probably be careful with that unless you're consoleizing it and hooking it up to your TV and whatnot. But there is so much to love about this device, whether we're talking about the form factor or the fact that it just looks like an OG Game Boy, you know what I mean? Oh my gosh, look at that. I'm actually repping the Game Boy shirt today. I beefed this thing out too, man. There's like a 256 gigabyte, like, SD card here. Dude, I went all out on this thing. I ended up getting this for, like, what, 40 bucks, I want to say, on sale. Yeah, this 100% worth the money, dude. You can run so many consoles on there. It's a great emulator. Out of all the emulation devices I've ever used, the RG35XX Plus is hands down my favorite. There's some other great ones out there, obviously, like the Retroid Pocket and, you know, all these other things that you can kind of turn into emulators, such as the Steam Deck. But when we're just talking about, like, price-performance ratio, the amount of games you can run on it, and how quality the product is, the RG35XX Plus is my actual favorite. Now, I do have one more handheld, which I actually forgot about until just now, because I actually use this handheld as a console all the time. So I kind of just forgot that, oh yeah, it is also a handheld, so BRB. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Nintendo Switch OLED. Now, the way that I got this system was actually kind of funny. I got this thing for completely for free, like, 2 years ago? Yeah, it was like 2 years ago now. Basically, Temu was doing this thing where it was like, hey, just have a bunch of your friends join the app and then we'll give you a free Switch. So it took me, like, I don't know, like maybe 6 hours to send out a bunch of invites to, like, a bunch of, like, people that haven't downloaded Temu before. And then what do you know, like, 3 weeks later, I got a free Nintendo Switch. So, like, yeah, that's how I got this thing. So what can I say about the Switch? Well, the Switch is freaking awesome. I like, you can literally see, this is like my Resident Evil 4 in bed machine, because anybody that knows me knows Resident Evil 4 is my favorite game of all time, and every time I buy a console, I have to buy Resident Evil 4 on it, and obviously that's exactly what I did on here. So anytime I'm laying in bed, before bed, I will play Resident Evil 4. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a physical only collector, but the Switch is my one exception because the games are so, excuse my language, the games are so fucking expensive on Switch, dude. Like, trying to buy them all physically. I have a handful of, like, physical Switch games. I love collecting physically for the system, but they're so expensive that I end up just buying a lot of games on sale for, like, 5, 10, $2. Like, I'm looking through my collection right now. I got like Saints Row the 3rd and 4. I remember I bought both those games for a total of like $3. Resident Evil 4 I bought digitally for like $10. Green Hell, that's like a survival type game. I got that one for like, I think I got that for like $2 or $5 somewhere in that vicinity. Like a lot of stuff like that. Brotato is another one I'm pretty sure I got for pretty cheap. KO the Kangaroo I got for like $1.90. Oxenfree I got for like $2. Panda, you know, Poison Control. Oh, Poison Control actually. That's the little game right there, the little pink one right there, dude. That game has so much charm and it is so underrated. It's like this cool third-person shooter type RPG where you have to go inside of these people's like heads basically and purge their demons. It's a really hard concept to just explain on video, so I'd recommend going and looking up like a, you know, like a trailer for it or something, or looking up some gameplay, because it'll look a little basic at first, but really the true experience of the game is like, yes, partly the gameplay, but also just the story and experiencing it. It is also all in like Japanese, so you have to read the subtitles as you go, which that's fine. I've been learning Japanese, so it was good practice for me to kind of read the English subtitles, kind of hear what they were saying as it went. But man, Poison Control is such a beautiful game. It actually had me in tears by the end, just because like, I don't know, the story just really moved me, you know what I mean? Like, I'm one of those guys though where I won't lie, I get really attached to stories and things like, and, you know, like fictional art and media and such very easily. So if there's a story or characters that just touch me, then I'll probably be in tears by the end either way, just because, you know, I love being inside of these digital worlds. I spend my entire time of my physical existence trying to escape into a digital world. You know what I mean? I don't like the physical world, so I'm always trying to get into a digital one. So that's just why games touch me so much. But yeah, Poison Control is a great game, man. I love it. And even if you don't end up playing it or don't get around to buying it, at least look up the soundtrack. Just look up like the Poison Control soundtrack and just look for like some of the most popular tracks. Oh my gosh, like the main menu theme, dog. Oh no, you know what? We're booting up the game right now. I don't have a Nintendo Switch 2 yet. I'll get around to that at some point. You know, not Bruce Wayne, not Mr. Beast. I only got money I can just wipe my ass with, so I gotta save up some money here. But I do want to get a Switch 2 at some point. Also, one thing I've gotten a lot of use out of on the Nintendo Switch is obviously Nintendo Switch Online, specifically like the Nintendo Switch Online apps, like you know, the Super Nintendo app, N64, all those retro consoles. Got a lot of great use out of it because it's really convenient if I'm laying in bed and I'm like, all right, I want to switch it up, play a retro game real quick. I just go to the main menu, boot up one of the apps, and then I can just, you know, lay in bed playing Donkey Kong Country on my Switch. Oh man, you can see my save data right there. It's from July of 2024. Yeah, that lines up. That was like almost a year ago at this point. Man, gosh, I'm just being taken back to when I played this game. Soundtrack in this game is so good, man. It gets me every time. But anyways, yeah, I think I've done enough yappage for one day. That is my handheld console collection. So there are some other handhelds that I want to get yet. Obviously, I want to go back and get, like, you know, the original Game Boy again and Game Boy Advance, because these are systems that I had in the past but just ended up, you know, I've moved a number of times in my life. I made stupid trade-ins back in the day to GameStop. I lost various games and consoles for various reasons. So I want to get like another Game Boy in my collection, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Sega Game Gear, all that. But anyway, yeah, as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this little collection showcase / yap session as always. But anyway, as always, massive shout out to all the patrons and channel members to get all you in the low baller tier, and an even bigger shout out to on the mid baller tier, the last king, and Big Dad Manny, and the biggest shout out to on the D tier run. I'm in some cheese girl. Thank you guys so much, guys. You're literal legends. I love you. Gorani Dodoki Arigato Gozaimasu. Have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.